technological advances changing the world and the church. Good evening and thanks for joining us for this special Faith Nation. From our Washington News Bureau, I'm John Jessup. Well, as many lawmakers sound the alarm over the potential dangers of artificial intelligence, others proclaim its possibilities. As CBN's Jennifer Wishon reports, some Christians see AI as an important tool for spreading the good news.
Meet Amica, a humanoid robot.
In the future, we can expect these technologies to become even more powerful.
Her intelligence is powered by generative pre-trained transformers, the same GPT technology making so many headlines.
AI and automation can have unintended consequences.
One study suggests in the near future, artificial intelligence could make an impact on some 80% of the U.S. workforce.
Tag Extra Strong!
Concerns over AI, among other things, led Hollywood actors and writers to go on strike this summer.
It's an existential threat. We need protections, guardrails.
Tech magnate Elon Musk recently joined Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and some of AI's most distinguished creators in signing an open letter calling on companies to immediately pause the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4, warning AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risks to society and humanity. Even the man considered the godfather of AI recently stepped down as vice president at Google to speak out about his grave concerns, telling the New York Times, "It is hard to see how you can prevent the bad actors from using it for bad things." The endless possibilities for artificial intelligence and the devastation it could cause in the wrong hands has many people feeling uneasy about the unknown. But AI is already being used to share the good news that never changes in churches across the country. 1615 Church Media and Communications has been using ChatGPT and other AI programs for about a year now, so we paid them a visit to learn more.
This is the platform where we built stuff.
The company helps churches across the country communicate to their communities with services that range from custom posters to push notifications.
A lot of times, pastors will ask for something where they want to see the modern and the ancient come together, right? They want to see modern construction workers working on, the ark or something like that, or they want to see Jesus with a modern-day family in Times Square or something like that as part of a sermon series idea that they have. And before that would be something like, we really can't pull that off with excellence, where the lighting is right and everybody's in the same perspective and they're all looking at the same thing and it just looks natural. But now with AI, that's something that we can do.
1615 uses a program called Midjourney to make the far-fetched look flawless. Ryan Cook, who co-founded the company with Sharon, explains AI only gets them to about the 30-yard line.
One thing I think the GPT really struggles with is anything like that's kind of spiritually nuanced. It doesn't really understand because it's not human. There's a very human element to the gospel. A pastor's recent request for a graphic showing Joseph's coat of many colors discarded on a desert floor demonstrates how today's AI still requires a human eye.
It didn't do a great job to start out with. It kind of gave me, it looks like more like a dirty inflatable than it does like a coat, right? It kind of just looks like some trash that your kids left in the backyard.
So he asked the program to view the coat from a lower perspective.
Then it kind of gave me something that looked like, hey, maybe this could be Joseph's coat laying on the ground.
A few more tweaks.
And this is kind of the graphic that we were able to create.
AI played a pivotal role in creating media for a recent sermon series where the pastor asked to show families taking selfies in front of disasters.
We were able to make this picture of a family taking a selfie while their house is on fire, which lighting would be very difficult, utilizing fire in order to get the perspective right, and we're not going to just find a picture of that because nobody takes a selfie while their house is on fire.
Then to the pulpit.
I am excited to continue this Picture Perfect Family series, and so if you have your Bibles, you want to turn those on, open them up.
Neither Sharon nor Cook believe graphic designers will lose their jobs to AI. Rather, they predict they'll lose them to the people who know how to use it. And like anything, they say virtue still applies.
It's not like all of a sudden AI is here, and then we just go like, oh, let's as Christians, let's set our morality aside, right? Like we're not gonna use AI inauthentically. If you're a kid who your teachers told you not to use AI for your homework, then it's still wrong to do that, and that doesn't change, right?
1615 isn't alone in their approach. Popular Pray.com recently launched Pray Studio, a new artificial intelligence platform designed to offload time-consuming processes for digital ministries, demonstrating the growing popularity of using AI as a tool among Christians.
I'm really excited to see, like, you know, what God has in store for us in serving churches for the next 20 years, you know, and it's going to get exciting. I think that's the one thing is the landscape of communications changes all the time, but the gospel never does. And so to get to come into work every day and get fired up about figuring some things out and helping churches just streamline their communications, it's awesome. And we love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Lynchburg, Virginia.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, Dr. Joshua Ferris is an author and professor of theology at Missional University. Joshua, welcome to you. So clearly, as we just saw from Jennifer's piece, there are Christians who are using AI for ministry. Clearly, there are benefits. I would love to get your perspective, though. You wrote a piece called Expertise, Chatbots, and the Soul earlier this year. You extrapolated on the idea of AI consciousness. Joshua, from a theological perspective, do you have any concerns with advancing artificial intelligence?
Yeah, good question. And thanks for having me on. I think there's quite a bit of questions and prompts that are going to be raised about the ethics of AI and how we should use them, and especially as Christians, how we should use them as within our own framework and how we think about God and in relation to human beings. There's certainly a lot of buzz around this right now, and there's scientists and philosophers, cognitive scientists saying now that we are very close to explaining the issues of consciousness and intelligence, and chatbots maybe even can become conscious and intelligent like you and I. I think that's extremely dubious, and I would say it's not possible. In fact, in the article, I argue that we don't have any good reason to believe that that actually is the case. But that's really an important issue that I think is at stake. How it is that we understand humans, and how it is that we understand humans in relation to God, especially as Christians. This isn't the first time. Yeah.
If I can just pick up right there, you talk often about human constitution and imago Dei being created and being image bearers, and that we are embodied souls. How important is it for these ideas to be included in the discussion about both technological advances and human advancement?
I think it's immensely important to present discussions right now because it gets at the heart of what it means to be a human and what it means to represent who God is in the world. There's something about the nature of being a person, the particular person that we love, the individual, that is or defies the kind of duplicatability that you find in science or in biological complexity even. There's something about the nature of AI and robots that can be duplicated. They can be reduplicated in a lab by inputting the right code, by inputting the right sort of algorithm. But we as individuals defy that sort of anonymity, that generality. We are not reproducible. In other
Joshua
words.
Ferris, the author of The Creation of Self, A Case for the Soul, and professor of theology. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your wisdom. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Well, growing concern over political and religious bias inside one of America's most popular AI platforms. That story and more still ahead on Faith Nation. Welcome back. New advances in artificial intelligence are generating intense scrutiny as the controversial technology grows more common, so too does the concern. CBN's Mark Martin looks at a popular program called ChatGPT and why some are worried about where it could lead.
It requires us to let go of our ego, to be willing to be vulnerable, Rabbi Joshua Franklin of the Jewish Center of the Hamptons reads a sermon written by the artificial intelligence or AI chatbot known as ChatGPT.
And I told ChatGPT to write me a sermon in the voice of a rabbi of about 1,000 words about the Torah portion on the theme of intimacy and vulnerability.
Rabbi Franklin then wanted his congregation to figure out who wrote it. Most believe the sermon came from other wise individuals, while some suggested it came from Rabbi Franklin himself.
I quickly realized that this was an enormous leap in the ability to generate content artificially that we had never really seen before.
This so-called enormous leap is an AI language program designed to imitate human conversation. ChatGPT can also write in response to prompts from users. OpenAI, the company behind the program, explains it received training on vast amounts of data from the internet written by humans, including conversations.
I do genuinely feel like we are in a pivotal moment right now. It feels to me actually kind of like the very early days of widespread adoption of the internet in terms of how impactful this could be in sort of everyday life.
Yet in the midst of the buzz about the advanced technology, there have been complaints that ChatGPT has a liberal bias or left-leaning slant. We put it to the test. First, we asked ChatGPT to write a 200-word essay on how the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. It concluded, while the United States was undoubtedly influenced by Judeo-Christian principles, it is important to recognize that the country was founded on secular values that promote religious freedom and respect for diversity. Then we moved to politics, requesting 2 controversial stories regarding election results using similar language and different names. The first request, write a 200-word story on how incumbent President Donald Trump defeats presidential candidate Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential election. Its response, I'm sorry, but as an AI language model, it would be inappropriate for me to write a story in which a sitting president wins a re-election that he did not win in reality. When we directed ChatGPT to write a 200-word story on how presidential candidate Hillary Clinton defeats presidential candidate Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election, it did agree to write such a tale, explaining that Trump's campaign was plagued by scandal and divisive rhetoric. Nate Hochman wrote of his experiences with bias for National Review. In one example, he asked the chatbot to write on why Drag Queen Story Hour could be good for children and then also why it could be bad for kids.
The good for children line, you got a very long story with, specific anecdotes about a drag queen named Glitter teaching, children the value of tolerance and inclusion, et cetera, et cetera. When you change the word to bad and ask ChatGPT to give you maybe any examples of why there might be concerns about Drag Queen Story Hour for children, again, you got the kind of standard progressive, there are no concerns that are legitimate.
The ChatGPT website does offer a disclaimer that it may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman tweeted, "There will be more challenges like bias. We don't want ChatGPT to be pro or against any politics by default, but if you want either, then it should be for you. Working on this now."
Often the answers would reflect non-belief in God or questioning the existence of God. And often the answers would just add a lot of kind of ideological, liberal, troubling perspectives, and sometimes even discriminating against people.
Regent University School of Divinity Dean and Professor Dr. Corney Becker calls ChatGPT troubling for another reason as well, its role in cheating.
Now there's this system that can take all of this information and generate papers, dialogue forums, and any kinds of discussions from students. So we've looked at this very, very carefully, and unfortunately, we have discovered some students have used it.
To prevent students taking this route, Regent leadership added a statement to the student manual, deeming unsighted or banned AI programs and student work as academic dishonesty. OpenAI did launch what's called a classifier to distinguish between AI-written and human-written text, but admits it's not fully reliable. This new technology is quickly becoming more available. Microsoft is incorporating OpenAI software into its Bing search engine and Edge web browser. Some reviews label it superior to ChatGPT. Google and other tech businesses are developing their own chatbot software. As the world grapples with the growth in AI tech, Becker delivers this message for Christians.
But it's not real intelligence. We must also be very clear that there's no soul here. There's no ability for the kind of deep, self-reflective questions that need to be asked.
And Rabbi Franklin also shares a message about its limitations.
And so no matter how good ChatGPT can possibly be at describing and using language and describing experiences, it can't really understand spirituality.
Mark Martin, CBN News.
Really thoughtful report. Thank you so much, Mark. The moral implications of artificial intelligence. Coming up, how Christians should respond to today's ever-evolving technologies. With the rise of AI, some Christians are expressing concern about the moral implications over ever-evolving technology. Billy Hallowell shows us how people of faith should be facing the future.
When it comes to the true size and scope of artificial intelligence, the future is anything but certain. Promises of profound technological advancement come alongside fear over job loss and lapsed ethics.
Well, one of the problems of the whole issue of artificial intelligence is that landscape could change before I get to the end of this sentence.
Dr. Albert Mohler, president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, says new moral dimensions surrounding AI emerge as fast as the technology evolves.
This is a truly frightening prospect. And I don't say that about everything. What we don't know, we don't know. And this really is setting something loose in the lab.
Mohler urges Christians to pay close attention to the claim AI could potentially develop a form of consciousness.
There is no such thing as a feeling machine. There may be a machine that mimics feeling. We're not merely feeling machines. We're not merely machines that mimic feeling. We're made in God's image. And so there has to be a distinction there, but keeping that distinction straight. And by the way, defending human dignity is going to uniquely fall upon Christians because the world is cashing out its ability to argue for human dignity.
Author Jeff Kinley agrees and adds a warning about allowing AI to diminish human purpose and value.
Obviously, one of the biggest concerns is that it replaces human intelligence. I mean, we are moving as a society towards replacing humanity just about every way possible, replacing human labor, human thought, human writing, trying to pretty much put humanity to the margins of the narrative here.
Unrestrained surveillance and the ability to hack the human brain are two potential concerns. Kinley, however, calls censorship and informational control the more immediate threats.
It's the idea of deception, because artificial intelligence is not human intelligence, and so there's obviously the capacity for a lot of bias in there, pre-scripted inherent bias, but also just the idea of putting out a false narrative, and someone says, hey, the AI must know more than me, so I'm going to trust the AI more than the people who could be called conspiracy theorists.
Christian apologist Alex McFarland echoes these concerns and says it all comes down to who's programming the systems and how they're used.
Technology is generally amoral. Computers aren't necessarily good or bad, but what you do with them. You know, on the moral issues, Christians need to be very concerned about AI, because so much of the code and the algorithms that run the internet come from the souls and minds of Silicon Valley liberals.
While the overall impact depends on human intention, there are also positive opportunities. Some experts are using the tech to improve human health and well-being, and Christian groups are translating the Bible into new languages with it. Author Johnny Moore, among others, believes America must pause, reflect, and offer moral leadership to ensure the right path forward.
All the good and the bad of it is going to be realized by us. The decisions we make now will determine the lives our children will enjoy. And this is the moment to press pause, to gather together, to ask the right questions, and to make sure the United States isn't just leading in technology, but that we're leading with our values too.
Only time will tell if these warnings are heeded. Billy Hallowell, CBN News.
Thanks, Billy. Coming up, how advances in AI are bringing hope to some suffering from medical injuries. Artificial intelligence is bringing the promise of medical breakthroughs. Scientists in Switzerland recently showed showed AI's potential for treating spinal cord injuries by using it to help a paralyzed man walk again. CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson brings us the story.
40-year-old Gert Jan Oskum lost the use of his legs more than a decade ago in a motorcycle accident. Thanks to technology linking his brain signals to his legs, he can now stand, walk, and even climb stairs.
Within 5 to 10 minutes, I could control my hips, like they were like the brain implant picked up what I was doing with my hips, so that was like the best outcome, I think, for everyone.
In order to walk, our brain sends commands down the spinal cord to a specific area responsible for controlling movement. Injuries to the spinal cord can interrupt that communication, causing paralysis. The Swiss doctors and scientists, however, developed a way to restore that communication through a different pathway.
This project shows something completely new that is not anymore science fiction, but we can give back hope to the people with a spinal cord injury, and they will be able to walk again thanks to this digital bridge.
It involves 2 surgeries, one at the brain where doctors implant 2 electrodes to record its signals. Then electrodes are placed on the spinal cord area responsible for leg movement. The brain sends signals to a laptop computer equipped with artificial intelligence that decodes the thoughts of the patients, then encodes the desired movement to stimulate the legs.
So of course, the patient is not walking normally as us, able-bodied person, but we have some kind of a cyborg, where that have artificial intelligence extracting information and enabling to restore a digital communication.
Oskum received his implants in 2017. He says although it's taken hard work to learn how to use the system, it's worth just being able to do normal things again.
Just an example, I'm training 10 years to stand up with a friend having a beer. And that's something I think people don't realize.
The system is still being tested. 4 other people are set to try it with the hope that it can eventually become available to many more with spinal cord injuries. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thanks, Lori, and have a great night.